settle down, the wrong of the right. Is there a chance for letting it go? Is there a chance for staying on ground, with your spine over the dirt, or with your spine over the spine of somebody else's spine, sharing what hurts in secrecy, yielding it? If it hurts, would you want it to let it go? We live in a traumatized society, or perhaps I used to live in a social environment where parents and teachers still abused verbally and sometimes physically to their infants. Neighborhoods were governed by the physical authoritative norm. Families, descendants of other kind of parenting, being watched by their own spirits. They were all wanting to keep you steady and settled. At schoolyards, pals would not allow you leaving the perimeter. Appeal to fear? Is this what I'm talking about? My father's eyes were standing right there in front of me. Was he trying to show me these of his great-granddads? His figure, a physical structure of a post-military soul, gained not from a personal experience, instead was inherited. On the other hand, by being born in the 80s, without the complexities of the 21st century, this figure transformed the place into one of the hardest ones. It was the 1996, the year in which my brother would be slamming the door in a protest sign after despair. Everything against my father's ideals of rectitude and threats towards our own freedom. He will always spread an air of someone who belongs to the Justice League. My mom, learned from him. From my brother, I mean. She's a free soul, a free body, and of an emotional sensibility, result of a constrained heart. The years went by, still finding this kind of way of parenting as a great threat to my own ego. Sigmund would agree. I am still unable to understand that this figure in the house, self-created, augmented, and has derived from my father's father, I will risk on saying that it was a danger for me and my own brothers. Now, here I have to open a short parenthesis. I have to say that we are not becoming victims of a true militarist body in here, but of one that could perhaps resemble one in the future, what I didn't want it to become specifically. All of that while nurturing out these developing bodies of us. Eventually, men in the neighborhood, other dads, would confront each other, for there is nothing else left for them but to maintain a structure, looking at my papi, standing there with a certain glare of reality. Was he lacking some human sensitiveness of his own? Or perhaps just lacking to acknowledge the fact that dreams were now being inbred inside our minds? Did he not know that every aspect of his attitudes towards others was actually conforming our story of today? I know the answer to this. He would say we were fortunate, or at least I assume so. These stories are of yesterday. Perhaps I should just start forgetting them. At this point, it is important to state that for me it was different. Warm hugs and kisses had begun to blossom along the years. After this, something was being born. Unnatural ways of dealing with my life choices, unable to open a door and instead climbing up my own window inside my own fictional reality suited for a 14-year-old Ecuadorian boy, introvertido, ansioso y compulsivo, the cheap psychs of my friends would tag. I think I am writing a mixture of perspectives of different people, I know, for I no longer feel I do no longer identify to the fullest with these lines. I was already becoming a part of the minority whose idea of life would also become obvious and hierarchical. In other words, I was even ready to confront the other militarized material. I still think I was the sensible one, different from the bunch. My own brothers were all able to decide what was the right and the wrong. As for me, I didn't have a chance over that. A lot of testing would shape their own ego back then. There is a saying that the devil works inside our minds, and for us it was no different. Folklore were those shapes up there. While living in Quito, Ecuador, diabladas, pacas locas, and fiestas de pueblo were shared among those hipsters that display a very rare scenery. We were plastic people using freedom credit cards with an unfetishizing pursuit of reality. We wanted to live it all before being 21. I think that I was a young mind, exposed to the different possibilities of being part of the whole package. After all, I was born inside a heterogeneous family. I was, am, will be, or soon might stay waiting patiently for the indicate moment, instance, time, or at least an intuitive click that will teach me about the virtue of solitude. Yesterday, I felt as if I was ripped out from a universal magazine and I cannot find my own design anymore. I felt as if I have been rowing against the tide from a river inside a short story found in a non-fictional shelf of the book that I found in the school library. Well written, but still lifeless. It's just a book. Today I am able to help the right doers with their own non-fictional stories. People from the 1990s, for example, these are rare creatures, the ones who afforded that letting it go thing perspective, perhaps with no militarized bodies to confront, or maybe against something less of a soldier to face. Would it be too much to say that they faced Pablo Neruda, Silvio Rodriguez, or some romantical religious missionary as a dad? Perhaps that's the type of a post-pandemic dad. One by one left the house. We were 5. I was the last. Today's day so far, I believe we remain attached to our wombs for the rest of our lives. Our mom and our mother's mom, for example, are the ones who would display a part of us which we cannot describe. They are the ones that decide when our face is ready to seek light outside. For example, our love of our lives, our grandma, displaying my own father as a newborn Simba. Such an unimaginable scene it should be, but it happened. And my grandfather, with my great-grandmother, all passed away for several years, with the exception of my grandma, for she's still with us. What I am trying to say is that they are the only ones with the judgment to know when it is fine to show their baby's face to the world. Back in the days, cousins kept this mischief inside, happy to be the infiltrating group inside a glamorous, social, moral district, laying down, next to God, inside a church, a mosque, or a place where people reunite to talk about their spiritual progress. Everyone pursues groups, and it felt good, as I remember, feeling redeemed and perhaps even proud, staying firm by the norm, the moral codes, and not by the artistic hand. In the end, I changed, kept the spiritual progress, and found a way out of this giant mold, filling the giant art jar, which holds my own body today, chilling. In the end, my mom and I would move away. Who would know? Both of us work and study. She as a retired public service officer. I, on the other hand, just holding a job that will allow me to finish my second degree on performing arts and circus acts. For being the last of a mixed generation, I find it comfortable to get aligned with people of different ages, and who would have thought that I would find a life among the queer groups and an Argentinian society, light and easygoing. Today I'm actually feeling sympathy towards my own feminine sensitiveness. I have combined it with my own beard. Sometimes I still imagine myself fighting with the criminals with this militarist soul my father had. And sometimes I'm still finding them in my dreams. Devils, witches, giant rhinoceroses. But I'm no longer a man acting figure, nor a fluctuating, evil, bipolar cretin. And a spiritual path is what I follow, and I can talk with my peers about what truly matters: family, my dog, and love. Districts of different colors in which I am friends with almost everyone, or at least with that, or what, or who has always been of my own. Destiny would be called by my own dad. And yes, I have created my own clown of a free man, monstrous and mysterious, part of my own, an area where my feminine side comes to life, even right there where the beard and the broad voice comes about. It is where I actually feel my grandma, for it is my own lion mane that can be different from my other papas. Inherited by my own great-grandmother and my own mother always. Piedad and Carmela, names that I have in mind, in a single body, still around, close to their voice. Lolita, Abuelita Lolita. We are slaves of our own reality, and we are probably slaves of our dreams too. Dreams are capable of showing us some aspects of our own, but they could leave some space to combine them with the real world, leading us sometimes with the doing that is right, and times when the right was wrong, better starting from the left foot. No? Osvaldo Bossi says in his book, A Poet as a Clown, cuando papá me castigaba, soñaba con una salida, aunque entonces no encontraba ninguna, y un hombre no difería del resto, hasta que apareció la poesía, y un árbol era un hombre, y un hombre a veces podía ser un árbol o una mujer. Dios mío, qué liberación.